Welcome to my podcast story, the show where podcasters share the real journey behind their voices, from their first mic check to their biggest milestones. Every episode reveals the lessons, challenges, and breakthrough that shape a podcast star's journey. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I can't wait for you to hear today's story. In today's episode of my podcast story, we have Michael Klassen, the passionate host and co-producer of the 5am podcast. Michael's show has cultivated a dedicated worldwide audience by helping people transform their morning and maximize productivity through strategic living and intentional routines. With a rich background as a veteran broadcast producer in news, sports, and film, Michael brings exceptional storytelling abilities to his podcasting journey. What makes his story particularly fascinating is how he's combining his hunger for truth, community, and spiritual feeling with practical insights for everyday life. Michael's unique blend of media expertise and creative vision has allowed him to build a platform that empowers listeners to seize each day and live their most fulfilling lives. He's here to share how he transformed his broadcasting experience into a podcast movement that's changing how people approach their morning and ultimately their entire lives. Tell us your name and the name of your podcast.
My name is Michael Klassen. The name of my podcast is the 5am Podcast.
Oh, what's the podcast about?
Well, the podcast is about our mindset and our willingness to do what it takes to achieve something more than what we already have. And we take people's stories, our guests, and share them with our listeners and viewers in hopes that they will be encouraged and have maybe some new ideas and some strength to move forward where they thought they might have been stuck. We often say that we want 5am Podcast to be a purveyor of hope for people.
Oh, how old is the podcast?
The podcast, the website itself, 5ampodcast.com, is about 6 years old, but the podcast itself, we just started January 15th, 2025.
Yeah, I'm lost here. Can you connect the dots for me?
Oh, yes. Well, so back in 2018, my wife and I wanted a website where we could write motivational articles, encourage people to move forward in their lives, get rid of some stinking thinking. But we didn't have time to do the audio-visual version of 5am Podcast. Okay. So when my position was terminated at the TV studio back at the end of October 2024, we started to develop 5am Podcast, like the audio-visual side of things, and so we started doing that January 15th.
Okay, so because earlier when you said the website is 6 years old.
Yes.
And when you mentioned the website, you called it 5ampodcast.com.
Yeah, that's right.
So since 6 years ago,
yes,
you and your wife, you had the idea of, oh, this is a podcast, because it's obvious. Why would you could have called it something that's like the 5am club, 5am, something like that. But there was podcast there. For me, I'm curious. I know you mentioned that there were a lot of things, and the time to really get the audio parts out there was kind of like the issue. But it took 6 years. That's a long time.
Well, the reason it took 6 years is because we were both busy with work, and we knew that eventually we'd get to doing the actual podcast. In fact, some people would message us and say, hey, these are really good articles, but where's the actual podcast? And so we would say, well, it's coming. It just, took a little while to buy the mic, took a little while to buy the camera and the lights. All those pieces had to fit together. And then also we needed the time to be able to allot to it, because it's a lot of work to get a podcast going.
Yeah, it is. Okay, 6 years ago, I guess we'll start from there. What was the series of inspiration that led to you saying, oh, we're going to start a podcast or website?
Yes. Well, my wife and I are very entrepreneurial. And when I was a young boy, I heard in Sunday school about this fellow named Barnabas, who was known as the son of encouragement. And I thought, even as a young boy, I could do that. I would really like to encourage people and help them along life's path. And so I never forgot that. And as we went through life, I tried to do that with people that I worked with or people who worked for me. But we got to this point where we needed an outlet for our creativity and our ideas and our thoughts. And so that's how 5am Podcast came to be, was being able to write articles and put out information that we thought would encourage and help people.
Okay. Over the past 6 years, how has the experience been so far?
Oh, it's been great. Yes. Sometimes it's felt like it's been a little too slow. like, come on, we would like to hurry this up and have more followers, more people, more impact. But we know we need a little bit of patience and have to do things one step at a time.
Yeah, you said more, right? I'm curious,
Yeah.
what's the number for you?
More?
Like, what's like everybody
Oh.
has what's has a
Mm.
number attached to more for them. For someone, it's like, oh, get 50 downloads. That's what more might be for them. For others, it's like, oh,
Uh-huh.
10,000, 100,000. What's your number?
Oh, yeah. So my number wouldn't be a financial number. My number would be more of people that I can help and that we can help and that we can encourage, because we really want to see people move on to do greater things and to feel like they've accomplished their goals and dreams. And maybe some people are even at that stage where they don't feel like they're worth anything, that they're not worth the goals. And so for us, the more is really helping people to know that they could have $1 million idea or $1 million payday. So that's more of what we mean when we say more. It's who can we help to propel forward.
Yeah. So in this regards, from what you just said so far, that is to help more people. What's
Mm-hmm.
the number like the next milestone number you're looking to? Okay, want to help 100 persons, 200 persons, or 500 persons.
Oh
What's the
no.
number for you?
Oh, we want to help. I would say we want to know that we've helped, let's say within the first 2 years, we want to know that we've tangibly helped 50,000 people.
Okay.
And then in the next, and then in stages. So then in another 2 years, we want to help 125,000 people.
Yeah.
And then in 5 years, we want to be able to look back and know that we helped more than 2 million people over these last 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Because sometimes when we say we want more, the thing is,
Mm-hmm.
we don't even have a number. We don't even know what we, and it's kind of hard to know to measure progress when you don't even know what progress looks like.
Yes, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the podcast now, the actual podcast itself, live on audio
Yes.
platforms and YouTube, is
Mm-hmm.
about let's call it 7 months old. It started in
Yes.
January. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Congrats. How's the audio experience been so far in terms of the technicalities of running the podcast?
Well, I think it's been great. I know that for both my wife and myself, we've enjoyed it immensely. Just the people we've gotten to meet and the information that we've gotten. A lot of times I like I was telling somebody today, man, I should be paying you for this hour. You're giving me such good information. So it's been great. And we've just really enjoyed it because we know that, like it says in the Bible, he who refreshes others will himself be refreshed. And
Yeah.
so we know that if we're able to refresh people, then we're going to be refreshed too. And it's just going to, like, people are just going to come and bring good things to us, and we're just going to give out good things to those around us.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now I want us to get behind the scenes of the podcast. And that is,
Yes.
how does the podcast get made? If there is an idea that, oh, this is it, let's say, give me, what's the last episode, the title of the last episode you made?
Boy, that's a good one. Hold on one second. I could tell you. Because we do 2 episodes a week.
Okay.
So we do one on Mondays and one on Fridays. And let's see, our last hold on one second. Boy, that's a good question, because now I really got to dig for it. But it was Nikita Vakrushev. That was
Okay.
actually a really interesting one, Vakita Vakrushev, and we titled that one "Ugly Emails,"
Okay.
because
Agreements.
he talked about building an email list, how that works, and kind of all that, not so much the social media things, but what do you have to control to reach out to your client base or to develop new clients. And so we talked about social media and those kinds of things, but we also mainly talked about emails and how companies can execute a marketing strategy that they really own and possess themselves.
Okay. Okay. So, can you walk us through the life cycle of an idea down to being released as an episode, including the tools, the systems, the apps, and the processes?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Quick break. Before we continue, I'd love to invite you to join the My Podcast Story newsletter. Each week, I share highlights from our guest stories, behind the scenes podcasting tips, and resources to help you grow your own show. You can sign up at mypodcaststory.com/join. That is mypodcaststory.com/join. Now, let's get back to the episode.
And I used to do this a lot in my broadcasting career. So this was something that I've been doing for years and years. And so I was really familiar with taking the idea, writing it out, making it plain. So getting an outline of what the idea is. Nowadays, it's a little bit different because I'm scheduling guests. But then once I have the guest name, and we schedule the date. So I use Calendly for that. And then just our own calendar system from Google or Apple. And then once we've got that scheduled and it's coming up, then I need to do research on the individual, find out what we're actually going to talk about. What is this person good at talking about? And where's their focus and how is it going to bring value to our listeners? So sometimes we have to say no to people because it doesn't really fit with who our core demographic is. And so that's actually part of setting up the episode as well, of knowing where our listeners are, the age groups that they're in, and their genders, whether they're male or female, and knowing how do we have this conversation so that our listeners and viewers feel like they've been edified and uplifted and given some information that brings value to their life. So then once we've done that, then I've got to put all the questions and the introduction together. There's a few things that I have set aside in a word processor that's part of my intro and part of my extra.
Okay.
Because I always want to give thanks to the people who are watching. And then there's also some call to actions that I build in there to drive traffic to our Buy Me a Coffee or to ask them to share with 3 friends, that kind of thing. And same thing with the 5-star review. So I already have that in, and then I build my script around that and around my questions. But one of my executive producers, a boss of mine many years ago, he said, Michael, I see that you're doing all this research and I see that you've got all your questions. And I still think about Jim's advice today. He said, but you can read your first question, he said, but your second and third question have to be because you're listening to your client or your guest.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you need to listen to what they're saying. And then your next questions that come have to be because they said something that piqued your interest. And so that taught me to be really engaged with the people that I'm interviewing. And then we use the Riverside program for 5 a.m. podcast. And so then we set that up. I have different studios in there and I send out the link with the calendar entry. I try to be very organized and not make mistakes on dates and times and things like that, just so that everybody's on the same page. And then we record and I do pretty much everything inside Riverside. I will say, though, that we do use Canva for graphics. And if the guest is talking about a book, I try and get the image of the book and then put it on a background so that we can have that come up on the screen when they talk about their books. Canva is a very, very useful tool for us. And then once the show's recorded, we fix the audio in Riverside. We make the shorts in Riverside. I do use some AI tools like Claude. That's Claude. We use that one to help out with titles and descriptions for YouTube and Spotify, Apple, all the usual suspects for the podcasting apps. But I find that the artificial intelligence, I call it automatic intelligence, but I find that that's really helpful for making the titles and descriptions. Yeah.
Okay. So down from idea down to Claude, using it for titles and the description. I'm curious, for the title and description, is it the same prompt you use all the time, or you changed you every time you have an episode, you just you type something new?
Oh yeah. So what I do for every episode, I take the show notes or the transcript out of Riverside. I copy and paste that for Claude to work on. And so that it kind of scans all the show notes. But then I also ask it to put emojis in and to optimize it for SEO.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you say optimize for SEO, I know you before we go back to process, you
Yeah.
explain what do you mean by optimize for SEO? Are we talking about the podcast SEO or something else?
So that's mainly, in my mind, that's for the platforms like YouTube and others.
Okay.
So with YouTube, we use TubeBuddy, also just the free version, to help us with that. But I know there are certain ways that we can structure our title and our description so that it gets a higher SEO score when it's out on the different platforms. So that's what I get AI to do, is to optimize it so that the title's in the right spot and the paragraphs are the right length and it's got the correct information that the web
Yeah.
crawlers can pick up on. Yeah.
Okay. So you put in the prompts, because why I'm asking this question is, if you're doing a lot of episodes, what happens is that it's kind of time consuming to be putting in the same prompt
Yeah.
every time you need a title and
Mm-hmm.
a description. And I'm guessing that Claude, they probably have something like custom GPTs that ChatGPT have, where you can create a custom app such
Mm-hmm.
that you just put in a transcript and say, give me a transcript. And you don't have to put in the prompts because you already built a
Right.
system with all the prompts and all that. And so it gives you the outputs you'd need every time you put in a transcript. Am I making sense?
Yeah. That's basically it. I just ask for the title and description, and then the other thing that we can do with Claude is have AI actually enhance our question, which
Oh,
helps a lot. So I usually just put the copy and paste the information in, let it know what I'm looking for because it's pretty brief, and then I get it to enhance it. So then it takes what I put in and then makes it a lot more descriptive for the AI program to work on it.
okay, that is good. Do you publish the podcast on your website?
We do. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we have a page dedicated to that.
it's just what's on that page?
So that's just our podcast page on 5ampodcast.com. There's a little tab where you can go there, and then it just has a little a player from WordPress. And so we put the RSS feed on into that widget, and then it just auto populates every time we have something new, because we use what used to be called Anchor, Spotify for creators. It's free, so we use that, and then it just sends it directly to the website every time we have a new episode.
Okay, because I'm curious to see what that looks like. Would you be kind enough to share your screen with us?
Sure, just a second here. Hold on 1 second.
Because I have some of the questions I have is, are you saying that it's there's just this long page of all the items on the RSS feed, or is it that each of the episode has its own podcast page where there's show notes and all those things
Oh, no. So we don't have an individual page
for each episode?
for each episode.
Oh,
So yeah, here I'll
okay.
show
So
you.
when people hop on the podcast page, they get to just see maybe the last 10 episodes, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess
Yeah.
you just show us so we'll see what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can see your page.
So this, you can see we've got the podcast page down here, and then we have our widget for Good Pods.
Okay.
Because that's one of the places that our podcast episodes go to, and so that opens up on goodpods.com.
Yeah.
And we're not signed in on that through that, but the rest of our page, as you can see, it has all the different.
If I also click on any of
episodes.
those episodes, where will it take me to?
Yeah. So when you click on it, it just launches the player right here on the website. Yeah. So that way it can keep people. That's one of the things I learned from Alex Sanfilippo from Podmatch, is to drive traffic directly to your website. And then like here, we've got a little sponsor, myinstantgold.com, and then a search bar so they could search. This really just has the most recent, unless you really scroll down, it's got, it'll have all of them. Well, most of them, let's say 20 episodes, I think.
Yeah.
Right there. And then, yeah. And this way, people can be listening, but they can still look around for other things on the 5am podcast, because we still have our other articles that we've written.
It's a good thing you mentioned this thing that people can be listening and check the other pages. I'm curious to know if the player is what the word follow around on the website. So what I mean is that if
Oh, yeah.
we can test runs, just click on play for a particular episode, and then try to navigate on the website and go to a different page on the website and see if it stops playing or
You were
keeps
listening
playing.
to
Yeah.
podcast
So
today.
it's playing
Please
right
look-
now, and then but if you go away, it will it'll shut off. So
Oh,
we need to get one of those floating
yeah,
ones.
yeah,
So
yeah. It will
that's
follow you everywhere you go on the website. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. So we would like to get a floating widget, but this was a free WordPress one. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I get it. Yeah, yeah, it's the what they call the minimal viable product. Just get it
that's
there.
right. Yeah, yeah,
Eventually you
totally.
build
Just
on
get
it.
in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, when you started the podcast in January, what were the expectations for the podcast? Now, of course,
Oh.
yeah, I'd love to know.
Oh, that's a good question. Kind of our expectation, we weren't sure what to expect. I know that we wanted we wanted to be able to know that we could do it first off. That we could actually keep up we could keep at it, we could stick with it. We could create articles once or twice a week, and we wanted to see, but it always takes time to build. You know, now we might have between 600 to 1,000 unique visitors every day on our website of coming to have a look and to see what's there.
Wow,
So
seriously?
that's yeah.
Wait. 600 to 1,000 visitors.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean,
That's
sometimes it'll be lower, but
that's
yeah.
I was even thinking maybe the visitor wasn't that high, because if people come to your website, it means that it's like, how do I put it now? It's like the website is like, what's the word? How do I say this? It's like, if you have a store location where one or two, three customers going to there are certain, in this part of the world, there are businessmen, they have like 5 shops in close to
Yes.
different locations, and so depending on the number of customers that go to the shop, that's how much attention they put to it. And so if you have a shop that is that has a lot of customers, it makes sense that that will be the shop that has a lot of all the goods there, everything there. And so I was like, wow, then we really need to like work on and customize all those things on the website, because people are coming, we want to
Yes.
keep them on our website as long as possible.
That's right. So, yes, and you bring up a good point, because we want to be cognizant of the value that we're bringing to people,
Yeah,
but we also want to give them the opportunity to, let's say, purchase things or get products from us as well. And that's always been something that we know we're going to do. We just haven't.
done
We
it.
haven't stepped into that realm yet because we've been so busy building the podcast and trying to get a good base for people subscribing to us.
Okay. Um, does the brand have an email list?
Not yet. That's something that we need to work on and build.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, 600 to 1,000. If we had to
Mhm.
just convert, let's say 0.5%, that's like
Yes.
in a month, the number of persons on the email list that you can message and say, hi, it's me, Michael from the 5 a.m. podcast.
It's
And
true.
we just released a so course and so product. And, of course, the thing about product is that if you release a product, it's meant to help solve their problem or help them
That's right.
advance, right? And so you get a
Yeah.
couple, something depending on the price point of the product. Sometimes you might need just 5 or 3 or 8, 10 persons to sign up, and
It's true.
astronomical figures.
That's right.
It's like,
And so that's, it's one step in front of the other.
yeah.
We wanted to build a really good base before we started with the email list and with the products, because we wanted there to be enough of a base where people knew that they could come to us already for information and then add in those other things. So
Yeah, I mean, the people are already coming to the website. My curiosity is like, where are they even coming from? Like, if you check the Google Analytics, the analytics behind the website, where does the traffic come from?
our main traffic comes from the United States.
Okay.
However, we've been building more of a relationship with people in Brazil, but it really runs the gamut. There's, I would say, half approximately come from the United States, but we have viewers from Canada, from Brazil, from South Africa, from Russia, China, of course. Singapore is another spot. I kind of feel like the Singapore ones might actually be bots scraping information, but yeah, so we've got a pretty good cross section.
Okay.
of nations. That's for sure.
Okay. You've talked about the audience, country, geography. What about the websites? Where what I mean, where the traffic comes from?
Mm.
Like, are they coming from Google? Are
Yeah.
they coming from YouTube? Are they coming from the podcast platforms? Like,
Hmm.
where do they come from?
Well, we get surprisingly we get a bunch from Bing. We were a little surprised about
Okay.
that. Of course, we've got X, we've got Facebook and Instagram that drive traffic there. Google's a big one, and Yahoo. Also, the Yandex is another one
Yeah.
that we have people coming in from. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, because people already the strange thing is how do I explain this? Now I get that it's one step at a time and all
Yes.
but the thing is people already come into the sites, right? People already come into the house.
Yeah.
So you just want to find a way to like stay in touch. And sometimes, of course, there are the offer,
Yes.
we need to put in an offer, a
Yes.
lead magnet, all those things are important. But sometimes you just have to put in, let's say, a means for people to just subscribe. There are people who
Hmm.
they already love the brand, and so you don't have
Yes.
to convince them to subscribe to the email list. They'll subscribe
Good
anyway,
point.
but
Hmm.
they just have to be a means for them to do that on the website.
That's right.
Doesn't
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah. Well, we'll get there one
Okay.
step in front of the other, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just one step at a time, and just really trying to have measured success and make sure that there's something tangible to offer the people.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Okay. Earlier on, you mentioned while you were talking about the workflow and process of the
Hmm.
podcast. You did mention in passing that you had a background in broadcasting. And so,
Yeah.
what exactly were you doing broadcasting? Were you the host or the producer?
Oh, yeah. So mostly I was producing.
Okay.
I was also in front of the camera from time to time. Um, but I'm really good at organizing and building teams and the production side of things. So I coordinated a lot of crews, made sure we had enough staff members, and then I also liaised with community, let's say stakeholders or organizations that were involved in it. So uh, I was really had a good relationship with people in the different communities that I've worked in, and also at different sporting events and things like that. And I enjoyed that. I didn't need to have the ego stroking that some people in front of the camera need. I was happy to be managing and maybe controlling everybody's lives. Maybe that was it. But I
Uh,
certainly enjoyed all the management and production side of it. I love being in front of the camera too, but it can't be in two places at once.
yeah. 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 When you mentioned that you get 600, it's just one of those numbers that I'm like, I know that a
Hmm.
lot of my listeners will be curious about that you get 600 to 1,000, right? I mean, it's not fixed, but it varies ups
Yes,
and
that's right.
downs, right? But that's
Yeah,
around the
yeah,
average, right? I'm curious, how does that happen? So what I mean by, something, there's a reason why do you think that is like,
yes.
okay, I
Diligence. Yeah.
I guess the question would be, if I wanted to get 600 to 1,000 persons to come to visit my site, how would I do that? Yeah, that's the question.
Yes. Well, certainly diligence. And also, like when we write articles, we would go and look for what people are searching for. And that's how we would determine what let's say articles we're gonna have on our site. And so you have some where people don't show up at all. But also, like some of these articles, they might be a few years old, but they're still getting traffic. People are still going to them. We have one about gardening that my wife wrote. That one gets visitors all the time. We had one on goal setting where we gave away a free PDF for the SMART Goal worksheet, which we're turning into a workbook and discovery journal. And that's for the whole time we've had the website. That was one of our first articles, and it was constantly being downloaded, and people were constantly going to that. And we were okay with giving it away for free because we wanted to help people and give them some free resources. But it's that diligence of being there for people. 2 articles a week. For the longest time, sometimes we wouldn't do any, but then we saw that our numbers went down. So we needed more to be engaging. We needed the SEO to make sure that we were spot on. WordPress is really helpful with that. And there's probably other tools as well. I would still consider myself a novice in all of the technology behind it, but knowing that We have good SEO so that we can get found. Also getting backlinks. And there's other websites where you can go to get backlinks. There's also places where you can write an article on somebody else's site to get backlinks. So we tried as best we could with the small budget that we had, just
Yeah.
to be diligent, to stick with it, and then make sure that we were using the tools that we could afford or that were free, just so we could build up that time and get some domain authority.
Yeah. Now, there are a lot of persons this might be the first time they hear of SEO and all that, and they're like, oh, what's all that all about? And
Yeah.
there's something that can be easily um, defined for people, and it's not SEO. I know that it's part of that 600,000 visitors, and that is how many return visitors do you get on your site? Like, so return visitors are
Oh,
simply people that
yeah.
they already know you and they just coming back to the site to
Yeah.
check out, okay, what's new about them, what's the latest blog post they've dropped, what's the latest podcast episode. And it's not like,
Uh-huh.
oh, they're not strangers, they've been around maybe 3, 4, 5 months and they
Yes.
just come
Right.
on the site over and over again. So what's that number?
Boy, I wouldn't have that number for you unless I signed in and had a look through it. But I don't have time. We don't have time for that today. But it's
Ah,
it's the big thing is being patient and knowing that every get rich quick scheme falls to the ground. So the better foundation we have, the more diligent we are, and that having that long term vision, that's really what sets us up for success.
yeah. And that's the thing about return visitors. It means that you provide
Yes.
value the first time, like, yeah, I bookmark the site, I'll check them
Yeah,
out.
that's right.
And that's also where
Yeah.
consistency plays a key role, because if you're not consistent, people check your site maybe next week, they say, no new blog post, and then they
Yes.
move on, right? But if you every
Yes, that's
Monday,
right.
every Friday, you drop a new blog post, a new podcast episode,
Yeah.
they look forward to it, they check it out every now and then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know YouTube really wants, like for YouTube, I know we're talking about the website, but YouTube really wants to see your subscribers coming back to the website. And so it's, we could go to different sites. You could buy viewers or you could buy subscribers or other things like that. But those things actually end up hurting our channels because if we buy subscribers, those subscribers never ever watch any
Nah,
of our
they won't
product.
watch it. Yeah.
And if we buy the viewers, then they never become subscribers.
Yeah.
And so it's that diligence continually going forward and moving forward. But I will tell you, like on the streaming and download side, like with Apple and goodpods.com and Spotify, we've had as many downloads and listens on those platforms in the month of June than in the previous 5 months combined.
Wait, I'm
So
confused. I'm
it
confused.
oh
Can you
yeah.
can you can
So
you say that slowly so
yeah,
that I understand what you're saying?
sure. So on our analytics for like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and the other few places that
Audio
get it pushed
platforms.
out to, yeah, on the
Okay.
other audio platforms. That's right. So our number for June is not a big number. It's under 1,000, but um, if you take the previous 5.5 months, you can add up those 5.5 months, and it's equal or a little bit less than all the listeners and downloads we had for June. So
Wow.
that just means that has slowly built, slowly built, slowly built,
Yeah.
and now all of a sudden you get to this point where the pail's so full it tips over, kind of idea of we were building and building and building and building, and then we have a month where we have more listeners than we had in the previous 5.5 months
5 months.
combined. So
Yeah.
so
Wow.
it takes time, but we get there. We
Yeah, it takes
we
time,
build.
but it's clearly working.
Yes, yeah, and just building that relationship and people knowing that they can trust you, that you're going to have information for them that they want to hear or read.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing about podcasts, and the reason why I just like I'm talking about the audio part of
Yes.
podcasting, not the video, is the fact that um, when you release an episode, right, majority of
Yeah.
the listeners, 90% or most of the time, except maybe you run ads for the episode or you
Yeah.
have a big name guest or something like that shares your episode.
Mm-hmm.
90% of the listeners you get are people that already listen to your show and they're
Yeah.
coming back to listen to another one. And so
That's right.
So that's the reason why most persons they prefer to go on podcast instead of going to blog post or YouTube, because for YouTube I could get a million views, I could do anything crazy on a video and go viral.
Yes.
But for a podcast episode, the people who are coming there, they're coming there because they already trust me that I would give them
Yes.
value.
That's
So
right.
even though I call the episode midnight chat, because right now it's midnight for me, midnight chat,
Yes.
people would still listen to the episode because the previous 5 episodes I released, it was valuable. So title is not really a problem for them. Like we are here for the content, and yeah,
Yes.
it shows in the number.
That's right. And it's available to anybody, really, if you want to put the work in. Yeah.
Yeah, like say, what's the word? I say it's simple, but it's not easy. Something like that. Like it's okay
Yes,
if you
that's
do
right.
this, do this, do this for as long as this, you eventually get this. But is it easy? Nah. You have to put in the work.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Does the podcast make money?
A little bit. And,
Okay.
you know, it grows every day. It grows. And we get feedback, you know, so it's making a little bit of money, and that's great, but that's not our main focus. I know we got to pay our bills, but really we want to build those relationships, and we know the money will come.
Okay. When you say the podcast is making money a little bit, I'm curious to know how does it do that?
Well, first, as you know, Podmatch pays us when we have their guests, so that's one of the ways. And then there's just been people around who want to support what we're doing with 5am podcast. And so there's been some times where it's maybe been through Buy Me a Coffee, or another one where somebody just, it's not that common, but you have these people that just want to support the work that we're doing. And yeah, so that's the main ones now, and gives us the opportunity to build the product list that we're going to have with courses and coaching and books and things like that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what that would look like, and I'd love to like do a chapter 2 of the story and see, and then you come on the podcast and walk us through
Mm.
the thought
Hmm.
process behind, creating the courses, the products, and
Yes.
everything. And yeah, that would be a nice conversation to have.
Yeah, it would. And you know, I think the big thing is to put money secondary or even 23rd on the list, because there's so many more important things than money in our world. And there'd be people that say, "Well, I can't believe you said that." Well, I know. I've lived without money, and I've lived with money. With money is better, but there's that deceitfulness of riches that come along with it. And so
Yeah.
that's why it can't be the primary concern.
Yeah, I think for products, courses, launches, and all that,
Hmm.
is the question for me. It's always how can I provide more value for the listeners? I mean, they're
Yes.
already listening
Yeah.
to this podcast, but how can I provide more value for them? How can I
Yeah.
help them get to points D, E, F, or whatever the
Yes.
destination might be
That's
for
right.
them? And
Yeah.
and then when you start from there, you're like, okay, consider the amount of work and everything. How much would I need as a financial compensation so I can actually deliver without fail on this promise?
Yes.
And then
Right.
you do have a product to sell rather than I need to make $1,000 from, and they're like, yeah, let me just slap together something and put it on the website and say,
Yes.
pay me
Yeah.
$1,000.
That's right. We want to focus on quality, and then people read it and they'll either say that was not valuable, or they'll say, "Wow, that was great. I'm going to buy more."
Yeah, there are products I know that I bought that I'm like, I thank them for taking my money, and I'm like, thank you
Yeah.
for taking my money, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
right.
Because
Yeah.
the product worked incredibly well and solved a pain and a problem that I had, that I was so
Yeah.
happy. And I was
Yeah.
like, I felt like I paid less, and like, can I double it? Can I pay more? And that's how we want our audience to
Yeah.
feel when
Yes.
they buy a product from us. And then I'm like, just another product.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Other than the courses and the products, what other projections do you have for the podcast? What other work in progress or projects that are maybe on the to-do
Mm.
list or the doing list? So you can just share with some of them with us.
Yes. Well, we're starting on 2 radio stations in the United States this month.
Okay. Okay.
So July 2nd was our first episode on a radio station in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM. And then this next coming Wednesday, and we're on there Wednesday mornings at 7 to 8. So right on that kind of that drive time, because Atlanta has a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
And then we're starting next Wednesday. We're also adding the Denver station, 92.9 FM. And there's a few other ones that we're working on including as well. And so we want to be able to add more syndicated stations. And then we want to be able to build the numbers of people that we're helping.
Okay, okay. This is quite interesting. I'm glad I asked this question.
Yes.
What is when you say syndicated stations, what is it
Mm-hmm.
different, or is that just a play on word? Is it different from the regular station?
No, that the syndication just means that people start either they'll have like a revenue share deal with you where they'll give you, let's say, 30 to 50% of the ad revenue from your spot on the show. So syndication would be more that people are buying the show from you to put on uh,
Oh,
into their we used to call it a wheel, the schedule.
yeah,
And
yeah, airtime, yeah.
so yeah, right now we've just got the deal with these two stations, and there's more that will come, I know. But one step in front of the other and being patient is
Yeah,
the
okay.
key.
But just curious to know the logistics of these two stations. How did you were you the one that reached out to them, or were they the one that reached out to you? And how does it work, both logistics wise and revenue wise?
Yeah. So they reached out to us. So we had some divine intervention from the good Lord himself. And
Amen.
she found us and uh reached out and said, "Hey, we'd love to have this on our stations." And so we reformat a show just to fill that full amount of time. So like in Atlanta, we have the 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. So the full hour, which means that we actually will cut together one or two episodes that'll fill that 59 minutes, 59 seconds. Um, and then we send it to them as an MP3, and they're scheduling. So on the kind of the back end for TV stations and radio stations, in some cases, not all of them, but their calendar and their scheduling software and their the software that they would use to run the radio station programming
Yeah.
just pulls it directly from the calendar, pulls that MP3 file, and just slots it in to where it's supposed to be. So one of the other stations that we're working with that'll come on later in July. They're going to take, and our show will appear 3 times in the week
Yeah.
through it. And oftentimes they'll do that. Radio stations, they have like a 4 hour block or a 6 hour block on their wheel, and it just repeats. And then, Monday, they'll have 6 hours of programming, but it repeats throughout the 24 hours. And then the Tuesday wheel starts. And so their software will take that MP3 or that MP4 file, and it just slots it into wherever it belongs in that wheel.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
What revenue wise?
Oh yeah. So then revenue wise, hard to quantify. But what's really important, if somebody has this opportunity, you have to know, or you have to make sure that that radio station has their numerous contract or their Nielsen numbers. There's other programs too that say you have this many listeners at this time, and so then they're able. And different cities, different towns, they'll all have different CPMs, like cost per mil. And so they want to know how many how many thousands of people are watching this, and then what's the cost to advertisers to get in front of those people, and then how many commercial breaks are you going to have in that either 30-minute or 60-minute window of the show. So there's lots of metrics, but some people will say, well, we don't actually have the numbers, but we estimate it to be this. And no one's gonna buy ads if they don't know exactly how many people are listening in that 30 to 60-minute window.
So I'm curious, like I'm surprised and kind of curious. How will the radio know that the number of persons listening? I mean, if it's not digital or online radio, like the traditional radio, we know.
Yes,
How
right.
would they know the amount of persons
I
listening?
I don't know, but they've got the numbers. Nielsen ratings have been around for a long, long time, so they have their ways of knowing, and it's probably through some sort of polling or something like that, where they would
No.
know the amount of people that are listening, and then
Okay.
they just extrapolate it with
Oh yeah,
mathematics and
yeah.
all stuff like
That's the word. Yeah, extrapolate.
that.
Because now I'm
Yeah,
like it's unlike the website where you're like, oh, 600 persons visiting my site. You know the
yes,
actual number. I'm like, okay, they do some
hmm
calculations and estimations, and they're like, okay, we arrived at this is
yes,
the estimated listeners. Yeah, I get that. I
yes,
understand that part. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah,
good. I like radio deals because apart from the fact that you get to like they pay you for your content which you're already making, so
hmm
it's not like you are going out of your way to create another content. You just
correct.
pushing it out there. The other thing is
Yeah,
that if people are listening to your show on radio and they like you and they like the content, they would go out and check out the podcast on the podcast
that's right.
platforms on YouTube and on your website.
hmm
So for you, even though you're putting value out in the world, it's free advertising for your brand. Yeah.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And the other, some TV stations, depending, and same with radio, depending on what their license is, they may be non-commercial, so that you can't have a call to action in the show. You could still have ads, but you couldn't have, hey, come on down and buy cars from us today, or buy a mattress today because we're having a sale. You can't have that kind of a call to action.
Okay. What
But the
about check
big
out
thing
our
that
podcast?
oh yeah, so
Yeah.
what we can actually do is say, hey, just a reminder, if you want more of our contact, you can go to 5ampodcast.com. Or you can listen to us on Spotify or Apple or goodpods.com. So
Okay.
you can have those kinds
That
of
is not commercial.
reminders.
That doesn't sound like commercial
No, no,
status. Okay.
that's right. Yeah. So that's more of a kind of not quite a public service announcement, but it probably could be classified as a PSA because it doesn't have the call to action. It's just saying, hey, as a reminder,
Yeah.
you can find out more about us here. So that's good. We're hoping to drive traffic to the website, but also hoping that um, that on the podcast players we're going to get more, and we've already seen that on Spotify. Where we've had a little bump over kind of what our average was. And the other thing that at the beginning of June, I just met a friend I was at a Christian men's retreat weekend, and I was chatting with this fellow, and he said, "Oh, what's the name of your podcast?" And he typed in 5am podcast on his Apple podcast search bar, and we were actually the first one that came up. And he looked at me and he said, "Wow, how did you manage that?" And I said, "I don't know. I'll give credit to the Lord, Jesus Himself."
Ah,
But it's
that was a good
great.
feeling. I guess you're
You
feeling really
know,
good at
yeah,
that point in time. Like, our
yeah. It was
podcast
a
is
good
there.
pat on my back. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm visible.
that it was. There you go. We got some visibility. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good for me. I'm like in terms of SEO and all that. I'm like people are trying to rank for all these keywords, all this stuff. I'm like, no, like
Yes.
you should be able to rank for your name first before you talk about ranking
Yes.
for what you do. Like if people search for your podcast, they should find it, not having to scroll to 20 different podcasts before they say, "Oh, is this
hmm
you?" Like they don't even know you. It's
Yes.
just the name, and it should be easy to find. And then after that,
Yeah.
you can then work on probably the keywords and all those other things.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, that's nice. I love that story. Okay, the podcast is going on to 7 months and it's going on a year. There's so many things in the pipeline and so many things are
hmm
working, right? And um,
Yes.
but I want to know, right? What would you attribute to be the major growth channels, right? In terms of okay, um, we've been running the podcast. This is our go-to way we promote or grow the podcast, and it has been
Mm.
working. Not just because it's wanting to promote, and it's another thing for this is what is actually working, and not this other thing that we promote.
Yeah. So as far as our promotion, we haven't done a lot of promotion. Um, we don't have a big advertising budget at all. So we've done a little bit. We've done advertising on YouTube, specifically to get subscribers and specifically to get views, a little bit here and there. But we always look at it, our promotion as like the wheel with the hub and the spokes. And so in the past, we change it as we go to see what's effective or not effective. But we have TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and with those we have a soundbite, which is really easy to do in Riverside,
Yeah.
because it actually gives you a show notes and then it gives you the sound bites, and I just copy and paste that into the search bar on Riverside. And then once you find it, you just highlight it and you just hit the three little buttons on the side and it says keep only this. And so then we just export that as an audio file And so then that my wife makes a graphic in Canva, and so that goes out as a soundbite to let people know that the interview's coming. And then the full video goes out, and then we use the shorts. We put them first on YouTube and then download them so that we can use them on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Because we do that so that when we download it off of YouTube, it has that little watermark on it that it's a YouTube short. And so hopefully then people might see it on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, but then they also see that, oh, this is on YouTube. I should go, follow, click some links here and there and find them on YouTube. Because we would love to be monetized on YouTube.
Yeah.
So we're working towards that, right? But it's trying to get everything working together and going back to, either the audio platforms or going back to YouTube.
Yeah, it's I love the fact that you're saying one step at a time, because the core of everything we're doing here is the content itself, providing valuable content. So as much as
Yeah.
possible, we don't want to move at a pace where it will end up costing us producing consistent content. If it will
Yes.
affect that, then we're like, oh, let's just slow down a bit, right? Because sometimes we're like, oh, I want to grow on this, I want to grow on this. At the end of the day, you miss an upload for the podcast 2
Yep.
weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, so what are you growing? What are you trying to grow? If this is the main thing and every other thing is meant to drive traffic to this, doesn't it make sense that you should keep this consistent, and then eventually every
That's
other
right.
thing comes in? Yeah, I love that.
It's kind of like, there's people that have no food and they're starving, and there's people that will get food once in a while. All of those people, they want to get to where somebody else is who gets to eat 2 or 3
Yeah.
times a day.
Yeah.
And so we think about that in terms of our podcast. Well, we want our people to be able to eat, twice a week and consistently, so that they know that they can, oh man, I need to be fed. I can go find 5 a.m. podcast, or I can go find wisdom, because I know that I'm going to be fed on a regular basis.
Yeah, we want people to build their lifestyle around the consumption of our content. So every morning,
Yes,
while they're running, or in the evening while they're washing clothes, or depending on their routine, they'll say that's what we listen to. We just listen to this. Thing is that if you stop publishing, they'll find another podcast to replace you, and it's simple.
Yeah.
No hard feelings.
Yeah, that's right. No hard feelings from them. They
Yeah.
just found somebody else.
Yeah.
You got to treat them
that's the
right.
thing. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Mike. What advice do you have for someone who's just starting a podcast, or who's even thinking of starting a podcast? And what advice do you have?
Oh, yeah. So the first thing would be, what's the look that you want for your podcast? What's the colors that you want? And so that's kind of the first step for us, is what is it going to actually visually look like? And then one of the reasons it took us a little while to get there is because we knew we wanted to buy a good microphone, because the number one rejection that objection or rejection that people have is bad audio. So everybody wants the good microphone, and this takes a little while. You got to have that long-term goal of, okay, I can afford this microphone this month. I'm going to get it. Even if I don't need it for 6 months, I'm going to get it now because I've got the money for it. And then you're going to go find a camera. And I have an in-ear piece because I don't like to wear the headsets. But these ones, on Amazon, they're under $100, like under 75 Canadian or US, under 75 US for just these. And so you want one of these good ones too, that the audio sound in your ear is actually okay and it doesn't hurt your ear, because there's something called ear fatigue. So you want to have either good earphones like what Wisdom has, or you want to have a good ear-in-ear, well, we would call them IFBs.
Clean, sleek, and discreet.
Yeah, that's right. And so once you get some of those building blocks in place, then you're ready to execute. And I'm sure that Wisdom has an affiliate link for Podmatch somewhere, and you want to get on Podmatch, even if you're just a guest, or if you want to be a guest and a host. So like for me, I wanted to be a guest and a host, so that's the plan that I picked with Podmatch. The reason that I recommend Podmatch is because they do a really good job of having good guests and good hosts, and then connecting people that your audiences are going to get a lot of value from. And then it, kind of goes from there of you've got the equipment, you've got the people, and then you have a good calendar system so that you can keep everything straight. And then comes after the interview's done, you got to put that together. And you can find help for that. You can do it yourself. Riverside does a phenomenal job for it. But like I said, it's one step in front of the other and building towards your goal and not losing sight of it, because it can be hard. Do I really want to keep going? Oh man, what did I spend money on that stuff for? And I haven't even produced my first episode yet. And also,
Yeah.
don't tell your friends and family sometimes, because they'll try and talk you out of it. So it's like you got to be
Yeah.
really, really, discreet. I don't just wait. Strangers
Yeah.
may know, but family won't, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes they'll be like, "What are you gonna do that for?"
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. It's been an absolute delight chatting with you. Where can my
Oh
listeners
yes.
learn more about you and what
Well, definitely go to 5ampodcast.com. That's the best spot. And we've got all the social media links there. Twitter, X, same thing, but Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Yep. You'll find
Yeah.
us there.
Yeah, once again, thank you so much. So I'll be sure to put the links in the show notes and description,
Okay.
so you can click at one click, get straight to the website and see all the amazing things that Michael and
Yeah. Thank you.
what's the name of your wife?
Susan.
Mike and Susan are doing at the 5 a.m. point. That's it for today's episode of my podcast story. I hope you enjoyed listening to this journey as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. If you found value in today's episode, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. It really helps others discover the show. And don't forget to join the newsletter at mypodcaststory.com/join for more stories and podcasting insights. Until next time, keep telling your story, because someone out there needs to hear it.